Dr. R. Sugaraj Samuel. He is working as a professor in physics at New College, Chennai. He is also training students for IIT JEE, AIEEE and BIT SAT. He has more than 16 years experience in both teaching and research. He has published a book titled The Complete Handbook of Bachelor of Electronic Science Practicals, which is prescribed for the syllabus for BSc Electronic Science by University of Madras. He has presented papers in several national and international conferences and has also conducted many training programs and workshops to motivate energetic students. His research areas are ultrasonic, polymers, crystal growth and photovoltaic systems. He is experienced in both regular classroom teaching and online teaching as well.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in electricity and magnetism. We have been discussing about a series of lectures on the subject magnetism in this part of the lecture series. In today's lecture also, we are going to learn the concepts related to magnetic properties of materials. Before we start this lecture, let us see the session outline for today's lecture. In this lecture, we are going to see the magnetism of matter, magnetic induction, magnetic intensity, intensity of magnetization, magnetization current, relative permeability, magnetic susceptibility and finally classification of magnetic materials. What is the property that gives a material the magnetic behavior? We know a current carrying loop produces magnetic field and thus it behaves as a magnet because it has a magnetic moment. As far as the current carrying loop is concerned, the magnetic field direction and also the magnetic moment both are in the same direction. And when we take the materials, materials are made up of atoms or molecules. If you go deeper, in atoms we have electrons revolving around the nucleus. The movement of charge is current, right? That is what we have learnt altogether. And the same way, when we consider an atom, the nucleus is surrounded by lots of electrons. These electrons are in revolving motion. So, they are also equivalent to the tiny current carrying loops. So, when each revolving electron could act as a magnetic moment or tiny current carrying loop and thus a magnetic moment is developed, they indeed possess the magnetic property. So, that simple it is to understand about the behavior of magnetic materials. So, let us see further concepts keeping these points in mind. The magnetic field produced by current in a coil of wire gives the hint for what causes certain materials to exhibit strong magnetic properties. In general, any current loop has magnetic field and thus has a magnetic dipole moment, including the atomic level current loops described in some models of atoms. Here I have shown how a revolving electron could behave as a magnetic moment. It has a angular momentum because of the revolution and also the magnetic moment because of the current that is involved with that. That being the case, each atomic substance will have a collective magnetic property. Not only by the revolution of the electrons, there are inherent spins possessed by the charged particles like the protons and also the electrons and other charged particles. So, a collective effect will be there in these materials. Thus, the magnetic moments in a magnetized substance may be described as arising from these atomic level current loops. For Bohr model of atoms, these current loops are associated with the movement of electrons around the nucleus in circular orbits. In addition to that, a magnetic moment is intrinsic to electrons, protons and even neutrons and other particles. It arises from the property called spin. So, there are two types of magnetic moments arising, one from the orbital movement, the other one due to the spin movement, and because of that the current loop concept is to be incorporated into this model, and thus magnetic field is produced and thus it has the magnetic moment. You would like to have a look at a visual how these two are existing, the magnetic moments. This is the visual I would like to show you. The magnetic moment due to the orbital motion may be an electron that is revolving around the nucleus. Nucleus is not shown here, it may be considered at the center. And here the magnetic moment due to the spin motion of individual charges, it could be an electron. The combined effect will produce some sort of magnetic effect that gives the magnetic property to the material. I would like to touch upon mainly the orbital movement, right. The spin movement is also there, but it is to be handled with a deeper understanding, but at this level given to us as a curriculum, we can take up the magnetic moments produced by the revolving electrons and thus the collective effect. Keeping this in mind, let us try to establish some of the relations that are to be handled to understand the behavior of materials as far as the magnetic properties are concerned. This gives an idea how the magnetic moment of each atom or an ion is existing. The unit given here is in joule per Tesla. It is a very mild value, 10 to the power minus 24 is there for these values, but nevertheless we can have an idea how the magnetic moments due to the collective effort of the electrons. As far as hydrogen is concerned, it has only one electron, but helium has got two, and this is the point to be noted whenever there is a completion of the electron orbits, maybe the neon, all these they do not have permanent magnetic moments. And here some of the ions are also shown, and this is the conversion that we can keep in mind. 1 joule per Tesla is 1 ampere meter square. We will be able to understand these units in the course of this lecture. So, we have got an idea how the magnetic moments of atoms or ions are existing, and there are some atoms like helium and neon, they do not have any magnetic moment, it is 0. We are going to find out the reason also for the non-existence of magnetic moments in these materials. Now, we will try to establish some relationship that would relate the magnetic quantities. What would be the quantities? We have to establish them. Consider when we place a specimen, a material in external magnetic field, what will happen? The external magnetic field will influence the intrinsic magnetic moments present in the material. If it is already having the tiny magnetic moments due to the orbital movement of electrons, the external magnetic field will influence. So, thus there is additionally a magnetic field produced in the material. So, the net effect is to be considered. Let us look at the expressions further. In a material, these magnetic moments will be oriented in different directions. When subjected to external magnetic field, the magnetic moments will align in the external magnetic field. Hence, the net field produced inside the material is the sum of the external applied field, which is represented as B naught here, and the field Bm produced by the magnetic dipole moments. So, this magnetic field B is due to the external field that is already present, and also this is due to the magnetic field produced by the magnetic dipole moments. This is the basic equation with which we are going to develop the further quantities to understand the magnetic behavior of different materials. And we can manipulate this equation in several ways. We can write the field produced by the dipole moments. The earlier equation we had this Bm, right, this is due to the dipole moment, field produced by the dipole moment, which could be given as mu naught times I. Here I is called the intensity of magnetization, which is defined as the total magnetic moment per unit volume. This capital M is the magnetic moment, maybe a net magnetic moment. I would like to write that. As far as the small volume is concerned, there might be one net magnetic moment per unit volume, and this magnetic moment, what is capital M? The capital M is the current and the area and of course the mu naught. This we have studied in one of the earlier lectures. So, it depends on the current and the area. Here A is the area. So, keeping that in mind, the current and area units are coming, we have volume here in the denominator. So, that is considered here, right. The term B naught can also be written as mu naught H. In accordance with this form mu naught I, we want to introduce this form here for the external field also B naught, which could be written as mu naught H. Here H is defined as the magnetizing field or the magnetic intensity. So, these two terms Bm and B naught have other two terms involved, right. And I would like to give a word of caution. It is the two terms sound similar, right, but they are different. Have a look at this slide, I will show you that. The intensity of magnetization is represented by I here, or it is simply magnetization, but magnetic intensity, it is a different quantity, it is represented as H. Though they sound similar, intensity of magnetization and magnetic intensity, they are having different meaning. So, we cannot interchange the terminologies, they will have different meanings then. So, we have to carefully use the terminologies as far as these two quantities are concerned. Now, when we incorporate the newly defined terms into the old equation, this is how the equation gets modified. The total magnetic field is the summation of mu naught times the magnetizing field or magnetic intensity. In addition, we have plus mu naught times the intensity of magnetization or simply the magnetization. We can take the mu naught common, and we can always keep in mind that these three terms, the term B, the term H, the term I, they are vector quantities. So, I have written them as vector quantities. B is called magnetic flux density or magnetic induction. Simply we call B as magnetic field also, its unit is Tesla. H is magnetizing field or magnetic intensity, whose unit is ampere per meter, and I is intensity of magnetization or simply magnetization, that also has the same unit, ampere per meter. So, we have come across the three vector quantities in magnetism and relation for relating the three terms. the value of I could be different. In some of the cases materials, the I could take a positive value. In some of the materials, I will be the negative value. The way in which the alignment of magnetic moments happen, that will decide the value of I. There are some materials in which the magnetic field will magnetize the material in the opposite direction. We are going to learn the reasons for them in the upcoming lectures too, but here this I could have different value for different materials. So, that will decide the behavior of the material altogether. We will try to bring in some more terminologies so that our understanding would get enhanced. A term called magnetization current, that also has a technical importance. This is how it is defined. The intensity of magnetization I makes a contribution to the current density J, known as the magnetization current or bound current. It is a volumetric term. It involves some mathematical details, but in simple terms we can write the relationship as this Jm is the current density which is considered in terms of the magnetization is equal to del cross I. Here I is magnetization vector. We very well know the delta is nothing but the del operator of the vector calculus. I do not want to take up the mathematical importance of this operator and all that, but this is one relation. What does it say? The current density and the magnetization, these two are also related by a relation. So, the current density here, which is equated to the magnetic moment, is called the magnetization current, because whenever there is a magnetism, the current is also involved, they both are inseparable. We will take up the other technical term which is called the permeability of a medium. So far we have considered the equation in the additive form as shown below. This is the additive form. We take the total magnetic flux density B here. It is due to the magnetizing field and the magnetization that is produced. We have just seen them as separate quantities. We have the other relations based on the ratio form. These two are anyway could be considered as a combined effect, right. So, that could be taken as the ratio form here, though the ratio is not typically appearing, it is in the product form, but we call this normally as the ratio form, because when we rewrite this equation for mu, which is called the permeability, the mu will take the ratio form B divided by H. So, it is called the ratio form. Here mu is the permeability of the medium. Now, when we have the additive term and also the ratio terms here, the two different forms, we can always introduce further quantities to find a relationship between these two forms. Thus, we will have few more technical quantities, that is what is attempted here, which is called the relative permeability. Relative permeability mu r of a material is defined as the ratio of number of magnetic lines of force per unit area B inside the material to the number of lines of force per unit area in vacuum, which is represented as B naught here, produced by the same magnetizing field. So, we are comparing when we apply the magnetic field in vacuum and also in the specimen or the material, how it is going to be different. If we take the ratio, that ratio gives us the relative permeability. So, let us start with the basic equation that we have defined. Relative permeability is the magnetic field in the material and this is the magnetic field in the vacuum. And we know very well B could be written as mu times H. In the ratio form we have written that, and B naught is of course mu naught times H. Here the term I is not there. Why? Because it is in vacuum. Vacuum will not have any magnetization because there is no material at all, no atom, nothing. So, even if we write it as the regular form plus I, because we have that relation, this I is anyway 0. So, because of that we simply write, we ignore this I here. Now, taking the expression for mu r alone, what do we have? Mu r is, cancel the H here. So, we have mu divided by mu naught. So, mu r is the relative permeability, mu is permeability of the medium, mu naught is permeability of free space. We can write the mu as mu r times mu naught, and of course, this relation is also there, mu is P divided by H. All these relations are useful for identifying what sort of magnetic material a material once it is identified. We will be able to categorize them, and one more quantity is also involved in categorizing them. We will define that. That quantity is called the susceptibility. What is susceptibility? How much the material is influenced by the external field, right. What is the meaning of susceptible? How we are responding, how it is affecting, that kind of meaning, that is a dictionary meaning. The same way here also we have a scientific meaning for magnetism, how much the material is magnetically susceptible to the field. So, we will define that also here. Magnetic susceptibility, which is represented as chi m, is a property which determines how easily and how strongly a specimen can be magnetized. Susceptibility of a magnetic material is defined as the ratio of intensity of magnetization I induced in the material to the magnetizing field H in which the material is placed. So, though it is just mentioned as the ratio, this has got a physical importance. I would like to show it by writing the magnetization or the intensity of magnetization is proportional to the magnetizing field H. As the H value increases, I value is also likely to increase. Now, we can introduce a proportionality constant, which is represented here as the magnetic susceptibility chi m. This m suffix that we use here shows it is for magnetism. We have one such susceptibility for electrostatics also, that is electrostatic susceptibility, and that is related to polarizability. All those are also there, but here it is related to magnetism. So, simply susceptibility, when we say, the confusion will come. So, to differentiate that we always use this suffix m. So, once this equation is manipulated, we have this ratio form for this magnetic susceptibility chi m. Once these things are all done, we have got now lots of terms, the permeability, relative permeability, and now defined terms, the susceptibility, how these are all related and how these help us to decide on the type of the material. That is our main objective now. So, let us establish a relation between this susceptibility and the relative permeability. Let us do that. These are the mathematical steps involved in bringing out the relation between the two, that is the magnetic susceptibility and the relative permeability. We can develop the relation between them in the following manner. We start with the 3 vector equation, the B and H and I, and we replace I with this recently defined term and take the H common here, and bring this H to the denominator. What is B divided by H? That is permeability of the medium that we write here, and I think we have come to the final expression that develops the relation. Mu could be written as mu naught times mu r. The mu naught is cancelled on both the sides. So, we have finally a relation that is relating mu r and the susceptibility chi m, relative permeability and susceptibility. I would like to discuss upon these terms so that we could use them to find out what sort of magnetic material that we could identify a material is. And this relation shows this mu r is 1 plus chi m. There are some clues that we could identify. This chi m could be a negative value. As I said, when the external magnetic field is applied, if the magnetization is happening in the opposite direction, then chi m will definitely take a negative value. There are some materials in which the magnetization can take place in the same direction. In those materials, chi m will be positive. And then how much it is, whether it is a high value or low value, that also will decide the material. So, positive, negative, high, low, all these are to be considered as far as this chi m is concerned. What is chi m? It is magnetic susceptibility. Let us take up the mu r. It is always positive because the chi m is normally not greater than 1 even if it is negative value. So, mu r will always be positive, and here also it could be greater than 1 or less than 1, right. So, that also will decide the type of magnetic material. Based on this, how do we classify them? Classification of magnetic materials. The values of magnetic susceptibility and relative permeability decide the type of magnetic material. The value chi m can be positive or negative, as I have mentioned. The value of mu r is always positive, but it can be less or greater than 1. Based on the above values, we can classify the magnetic materials into 3 types as diamagnetic material, paramagnetic material and ferromagnetic material. There are other intricate magnetic materials too, ferrites and all that, but they come under the study of material science. But as far as our curriculum is concerned, these 3 classifications are the major classifications. What would be the values of mu r and chi m? Are you interested to see that? So, this is how the values are varying for them. For diamagnetic materials, susceptibility is a low negative value and relative permeability is a slightly less than 1 value. Paramagnetic materials have chi m as a low positive value and mu r slightly greater than 1. And for ferromagnetic materials, chi m is a high positive value and mu r is a very much greater than 1 value. So, these are giving us some idea how the susceptibility and relative permeability decide the type of material. We are yet to learn more about these materials with these values supporting. We will reserve them for the upcoming lectures. Hope I have come to the end of this lecture. We will see the summary of today's lecture. In this session, we have seen the concepts of magnetism of matter, magnetic induction, magnetic intensity, intensity of magnetization, magnetization current, relative permeability, magnetic susceptibility, and finally classification of magnetic materials. Before we wind up this lecture, let us test our understanding by answering these questions. Define magnetic induction B, magnetic intensity H and intensity of magnetization I. Derive the relation among B, H and I. What is magnetization current? Define relative permeability. Define magnetic susceptibility. How are the magnetic materials classified on the basis of magnetic susceptibility and relative permeability? With this, I would like to conclude this lecture. We will see the classification of the materials and the reason for the existence of these categories of magnetic materials in the upcoming lecture. Thank you for watching this program.